which is obviously what I was referring to, but also his Ambessa has been so incredibly good. I imagine as we get into the draft here that some topside looks will be coming into place. Of course, after a lot of the housework has been done, where you tidy up the Talias and the Azirs and the Pantheons and all those sorts of things.
Oh, yeah, when you just said Ian then Q, I'm like, that doesn't really narrow it down, Atlas. I'm going to need some help.
That's only Jax does that.
Only Jax does that, all right. Champions that we are going to be looking towards, the Gwen has remained at the forefront. This to me also signals that Gwen Prio is going to be high, with the Aurora being banned away. Rumble is another that we go towards basically endlessly. Xin Zhao, I think for T1 in particular, has been a mainstay. I do think we're starting to see Xin Zhao fall off slowly and steadily, which makes sense.
Yep.
Some Sundered Sky games notwithstanding, when he does really pop off. Instead, it's going to be the Wukong, who has been one of the premier team fighters and also synergizes so well with a lot of what is still open. If they don't pick Rumble now, you get to go that, but if you pair it with a Gwen, you're still going to be feeling great in the team fights.
Not to mention the Annie Rakan situation that they were staring down the barrel of, so they will be taking away the Annie and the Vi for Peanut. Actually, a pretty interesting one. I kind of like this. I think Peanut has had some of his better performances on the Vi in more recent weeks. So looking forward to seeing what he can actually get done here. Of course, it is a tall order to perform all that well into the Wukong, who certainly is cream of the crop right now. As Faker, a little bit of a grin on the face as he's like, I mean, I guess it's Galio time.
Rumble, Galio, Wukong is, as far as team fighting setups go,
not bad.
Pretty gnarly, Atlas.
Yeah, I would agree.
We'll see if that's what ends up coming through. And then Zeus has two options. Either he can go for like the soft counter, which isn't really a soft counter, but will be on, right? Because the Aurora has already been taken off the board.
True.
Or you just say,
doesn't scream happiness for HLE fans, I don't think.
Or you take one of the more rougher lane matchups, but you do really well in the mid to late game, which would be Gwen, or the Ambessa that we've seen come up again. We had like a period where Ambessa was permad, and a period where she kind of had fallen off, and now she's back on the up and up. The team fight for T1 is obviously kind of ludicrous. They also have decent side laning already with the Galio, which has been something that they've really relied on. And I think in the match against KT, we saw what happens when they still play the same way, but they don't have the leads they normally have, which I think KT did a really good job of using. We'll see if Hanwha Live can take some pages out of that book as well.
Yep, having a look now towards the bottom side of the map, the Nico and the Brad both taken away here is, of course, pretty obligatory into Carrier to be banning away the Bard. He has been so incredibly good at it. I think the only other person that can rival how Bard Carrier plays is Beryl in their most recent
I
match.
don't even think they're playing the same champion, Atlas.
No, it's...
they're doing very
They do very quintessential Bard things, but in different ways. But it is still very Bard. You know what I mean?
I feel like Carrier's playing peak League of Legends.
True.
Whereas Beryl's playing peak Bard, which are very different things to me.
Yeah, I mean...
you get what I mean, right?
No, I entirely get what you mean. And both of them, I'm saying, very good at the champion. Let's just leave it at that. As the Varus is going to be picked up here by Viper, managing to make it all the way through the bans is kind of insane. But I think Gumayushi and Viper are probably our two best quality Varus players that we have. If you're doubting the Viper thing, just go back and watch Worlds in 2021.
Oh, not even recently. Like, it's between those two. You know, if we take unhit Varus into the equation, all of a sudden Ruler enters the conversation.
Yes.
But no, Lethality, I'm with you, as we don't really get anything too surprising to come through here. Looking at what has been picked up by either team, I think that the composition of Hanwha Live looks really good in particularly skirmishes, right? We're talking 2v2s, we're talking 3v3s. When you have this much burst, single target CC, and the ability to just ensure, like, we pick a target, the target dies, right? There's Hook, there's Vi, there is anything that Annie does, there is Varus to follow up both of damage and with his ultimate. All of that stuff is great. The 5v5, though, for T1, I think, is going to be lethal. There is so much CC. Carrier is playing Poppy, which by itself is a win condition when T1 is playing well. And it's kind of interesting because I do know that a lot of the champions we've seen T1 on a lot, but if you told me nameplates off, I kind of would have expected the drafts to be flipped. We've seen Hanwha focus a lot more on team fighting and T1 a lot more on pick. and trying to play as aggressive as possible.
Not to mention a lot of the picks are the ones that T1 have been going for. The Ambessa for Doran, certainly one of his big picks. Varus for Gumayusi. The Annie for Faker even has been something that he's been going to a lot. So kind of interesting. HLE also taking a lot of things out of the pool, thinking ahead towards game number 2. But we have a first game here to start us off. T1 on the blue side, we'll see whether they can make use of it to get off to a good start in this series, in this battle for second place. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1. HLE taking on T1. Having a look down the lanes, Chronicler, I do kind of like where HLE are at as far as bottom side of the map. I do think this Rumble matchup for the Ambessa could be difficult, and we'll just see how Zeus is going to be able to play it out.
And Atlas,
yes.
Look at Viper's runes.
So as soon as the Nautilus was picked, I was like, oh, he could play on hit. But then even I thought that was a silly suggestion. Yeah. But he was buffed for on hit, right?
He was, yeah. And also, as you highlight, it's both the combination with the Nautilus, but also, I think one of the reasons we've seen Sivir come up specifically, because I think she does actually really well into the lethality Varus. And that is a little bit harder when the Varus actually has the ability to get up front and personal. And Varus's burst, until you get to like the very late game, but on like 1-2 items, spikes way harder than the Sivir does, right?
Yeah.
Being unhit versus being a crit AD carry. So that does give Hanwha Life even more power. I do think it's a really hard game to play though, because Galio, Wukong, Rumble, all these champions, if you get within range of them, are going to kind of cook you.
And, I mean, you might be saying that. I also think that this game may be impossible for Gumayusi to play as well. So maybe we just have 80 carries that are going to be absent in a lot of these fights.
Yeah.
With the fact that there's, like, public execution, depth charge, and cease and desist.
Yeah,
and chance corruption, and Annie.
the champion.
Yep. So, like, actually everyone can be Gumayusi's worst nightmare, and that means that the spell shield isn't quite as valuable when you need to use about 15 of them to keep yourself safe. Still, T1 will be able to play Protect the President, especially with the Poppy being available, and then Wukong and Galio there with circles for days. Right now, T1 with some push priority here towards his bottom side. But pretty even. All said and done, HLE a little bit ahead as far as these lanes are concerned, because Zeus managed to get a big ol' shove. Delight finds a minion and isn't too psyched about that, as he does take a fair bit of damage back there from Gumayusi.
Not what you want to go for. Setups outside of that, Guma has gone for Ghost, which is obviously better when it comes to the team fights, giving you a lot of extra movement speed and maneuverability around the fight.
Yep.
And for Viper, it's been just about tanking the burst, and also if you find a 2v2 all in, obviously you're going to get a lot more mileage out of the barrier.
Oh, there's the heroic charge, but Carrier not actually electing to go for too much more. I believe didn't have the Q off cooldown.
I think also you want to, even though they're doing well, I do think you still, into the Varus, want to try and avoid the longer trades.
Yeah.
Unless you have, like, in this case, level advantage. I think you can go forward and not be nearly as scared, but going in on the light and just allowing Viper to stack up his passive and lethal tempo is definitely a big risk, as we do have junglers on opposite sides of the map, but one of those junglers is Wukong, so I don't really expect there's too much that Owner can do right now. For Peanut, though, could look for a punish onto Doranir, although he is pretty healthy. So it looks like instead both junglers basically basing in the same space.
Yeah, going for a little bit of an excursion and then immediately going home.
And both dropping a ward in exactly the same place.
Wow. It's like it's a set play. As Viper and Delight just going to hold on to this wave. Got to teleport back for Faker. We'll see whether there is going to be anything on the lane swap scenario. Looks like that's probably not going to happen. Neither of our top laners having teleported just yet either. Zeus certainly using his health bar as a resource here in this lane.
Yeah, I think he's chilling. He has cookies as well. I think there's a lot of junglers where you can't really get away with that. As I say that, we'll see if Owner decides to visit top. But I think that the problem with, if this was a Pantheon, you can dive this easily. Even if it was the Poppy, you can. But yeah, pre-6 Wukong just, I don't think really has the setup, particularly against a character like Ambessa, and if you have no CC, which pre-6 you're not going to have in that 2v1 dive. Just don't think you can do this. Still a cookie, still a pot, so I don't think Zeus is too pressed about this.
Yeah, looks a little bit greedy here, but does have the resources to make it happen. Gets himself the shield, and he'll be A-okay.
The cannon.
Yeah, you do probably want to be there for that.
Maybe? The tension? No, I think cannon's fine. Oh.
No. Quickly. There it is.
Big.
Absolutely incredible
Immediately, Hanwha Life gets the gold lead, by the way.
Yep, that's how it works.
Coincidence?
I think not. Nope. It's about 100 gold, 180 gold, I think, for one cannon.
Guess we set the...
At the same time? Yeah, no, I got it. I was right there with you. Actually, that's the entire point. Oh dear. Things are pretty slow here in this this early stage of the game. I think that both teams are probably not wanting to make the first move either. As Equalizer goes down, Doran, as I say it, immediately goes hyper aggressive, but also does double duty, right? He's able to clear out the wave. Zeus going to stick around for this one, as there is nothing to tank things up. So it'll take him a little while longer. Gives the tempo over to T1 pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it's actually interesting, because I don't know how much it'll end up mattering. Maybe they can get a TP advantage out of this. We'll have to see what the wave in bot is going to do, because Viper did already answer. Also, I'm pretty sure this was off-camera, but Guma used Ghost, Carry used Heal, and Delight used his Sums. So I imagine a bot lane fight took place, which is why Delight is a little bit behind the play. Will show up in mid, but I don't really think Faker's going to fall for a roam that obvious. And it looks like they did get a TP advantage out of this as, oh my god, production.
Yep, here it is.
Very nice. As, oh, it's actually aggressive.
Yeah, Delight actually just went for it.
Okay, didn't see that one coming. Guma didn't have the flash though, so I think he's not too sad about that.
Yep.
But yeah, now they still have TP on Doran, which means that it's a lot harder to contest topside. So I actually like this from Hanwha Life if they can get away with it. Need to be careful though. There's the TP by Keria.
Yep, that's a big teleport in. His owner's clearing out vision. Peanut knows what's going on here, but he's actually staying on the dragon. Let's see whether Zeus can actually help this one out, as Zeka's moving in as well. And HLE standing their ground. They've got Delight moving up, but Doran's making his way in as well. No equalizer available, but there's the heroic entrance. Doesn't get any knockups as the bear goes down. Public execution, trying to get into that backline, but Owner gets himself out. First blood goes over, but both junglers are now lying on the floor, and I think Delight is going to follow as Zeus trying to get himself out of here. The Flame Spitter doing a lot of work, but Doran silences himself. Down goes Delight, as we stated. And Viper, he's chilling.
Ooh, that one's kind of hard to evaluate, because the Dragon went over to Hanwha Life. If the Dragon went over to T1, I think it's just a straight-up win.
Yep.
But the Dragon did go over to Hanwha Life. A lot was invested by T1, and Viper got some time alone with the turret. So you see, even though Guma got the kill, there's not actually that much of a lead growing in the AD carry position. I'm not actually sure if Peanut immediately knew that Poppy was there, based on his movement. But then right here, almost... Keria is able to get Peanut away, then they are able to fully dodge away, but it's this re-engage that kind of gets marked by the fact that Guma shows up, right? And even though he's just a level 5 Sivir, it still means there's a numbers advantage. The rest of Hanwha Life were pretty low on mana in the case of Zeka, or health in the case of Zeus, so they don't really want to fight to the death, particularly not against T1, who love that type of stuff.
Yep.
So it ends up being a play top as well as a 2-for-1 trade, but the Drake goes over to Hanwha.
Some vision coming on over here as well, as that will be swept by Keria. And so it looks like these grubs will be safely going into the hands of T1. Certainly good to deny that from the composition with an Ambassador that could be causing some problems in a side lane.
Oh, Delight is still level 5, as he has been a little more absent from the lanes. So yeah, I think it makes sense that they're not really looking for an aggressive contest on these grubs.
Yep. And Depth Charge and the Keeper's Verdict, both pretty important skills to have. And so they will be respecting it. Peanut moves over, does spot out the fact that there is an enemy red buff here, but does decide not to take it away. Instead, going to clear out his own jungle. Playing it pretty safe here as Viper does get engaged on, but throws back the ulti, and Keria says bye. All right, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, I think Delight thought that he was going to be targeted, because he already was setting up the hook, right, with Nautilus if you hit the hook.
Oh, aggressive heal going to be used here as Delight does hit the hook, but it's a nice spell shield there from Gumayushi.
If he has ult, might be able to force flash there, but he's just a little bit too late.
He was 1 minion away. Yeah, actually got it immediately afterwards.
Kind of unfortunate, but it's means that it just ends up being a heal traded for a Ghost, so neither team really going to be too worried about that. As the first item spike starting to come through, Zeus will pick up his Eclipse here, which obviously is a crazy power spike. And also, credit to Faker. I feel like we've seen Galio, who is supposed to just like softly lose this matchup. I think the Galio into Annie as a counter is much more about what you do in the later stages of the game, how you prevent Annie from assassinating your backline, and how eventually you get to shrug the damage up. But we have seen players really struggle in lane, Faker included in some of his previous matchups, so good to see that this time around no such thing.
Yep.
Matchup actually going pretty even as Zeus does have his ultimate available.
Oh, actually throws it out there, but Doran just sidestepping it. Sometimes you got to make the opportunistic play, but it is better if you hit the skills.
Yeah, it would have been a kill probably, or at the very least Doran in some real trouble because Peanut was waiting.
Both flashes coming up at exactly the same time, by the way, for these top laners, so they will have full information, both using it in that last team fight.
This is perfect for a first game.
Yeah, this is so incredibly close. No one really finding too many inroads.
That's usually the type of stuff we say before a team trades 4 for 0.
Exactly.
But, you know, I hope that doesn't happen this time.
I'm glad that you're referring to the curse that we did just put down.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Well, I mean, that's what you were doing.
I mean, it depends on whether you believe in curses or not.
Yeah, I mean, but you were just saying that, like, the curse could come true because of the thing that you said.
Well, but if I say it and it doesn't happen, then we never mention it again.
All right, so it's not quite a gotcha moment, but I'm pretty sure it was almost a gotcha moment. We'll get there. We'll get there, guys. Don't worry.
Always close, but never quite there.
Okay.
Zeus.
Yeah, Equalizer going to come on down here. Zeus looking for some alcove gaming. He has no way out of this one. Does have a bunch of dashes, but Carrier does not care about that. Just throws him up into the sky. Still gets a big old shield. Zeus really trying to play this one out, but not able to do so. And that is going to be Feats of Warfare over to T1 with a harpoon from Doran.
Nicely done by Doran with the help of Carrier, but I think this all goes back to the fact he was able to evade that previous play, right? Not get hit by the ultimate, able to make it out. As a result, Carrier has an opportunity to get back to his lane, and that's the first, I think, really big lead that we now start to see appear. Is that's a plate going over, that's a wave being shoved into the turret as well. All of a sudden, Zeus is 600 gold behind, and do you know, Doran didn't even have his Liandry's yet.
Nope. Still doesn't, in fact, because he's stuck around in the lane. Peanut has started up this dragon, though, looking for double dragon to begin the game.
Oh, yeah.
If HLE, and they're just not even going to go for it.
You cannot, no. Because you're behind on tempo on top. Doran is going to base and then come back with a Liandry's, and your mid laner got chunked out. So I think you just let him have this one. Although I say that, T1 isn't actually pressuring to play for that dragon yet. Might be the case down the line. But yeah, you also don't have an item on Zeka yet. You don't have an item on Viper, and they're still going to be able to get this. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, kind of nuts. T1 not really interested in the dragon this time around. Wanting to go back for some resets, they do that. And there's a Trinity Force for Owner. And with the Sundered Sky done, Trinity Force not finished, maybe that's what they were looking at. Because, of course, Sundered Sky is so incredibly powerful if you can actually get a skirmish to happen. As it will be another Mountain Drake to come on through here. Mountain Souls, I feel like, have been making a bit of a late season comeback.
They have, yeah. Yeah, neither team likes to play in a Mountain Soul.
No.
I think out of all these champions, Sivir probably cares the least. But particularly for Hanwha Live, they are a very burst-oriented comp. So for them, would be really rough if you end up playing into one of the best anti-burst tools in the game. As we do have now a possible fight around the red buff.
Bit of a rotation over. Do have a lot of ultimates back up and available again. Peanut hasn't really made use of the cease and desist so far today, as Doran and Zek are going to be fighting. A lot of fire here towards this bottom side. As Doran is going to get stunned up and takes a fair bit of damage here, but does land that harpoon. Tibbers. Be careful, Zeka. Got to make sure you can take care of your teddy bear. As Peanut rotating down towards the bottom side of the map, and Doran is smartly just getting the heck out of there. HLE have been able to somewhat stabilize this one, as the Equalizer is going to be able to get rid of most of these minions. There's one left, as Tibbers, I believe, not going to kill his own minion. Atlas, you moron.
Yeah. Bases are, I mean, that's your words, not mine.
Yeah.
Bases coming in as Herald is about to spawn, and I think we're going to get our 5v5. So another reminder, T1 is going to look to, unless Carrier sees a great angle or Owner sees a great angle, my guess would be absorb the initial blow that's going to come out from Hanwha Live, right? Try to look for a kite back and then re-engage. I think that their 5v5 in particular when it comes around layering these big AoE teamfight ultimates and pieces of AoE CC is really hard to deal with. And for Hanwha Live, it's legit just kill one of Doran, Owner, or Guma just in the first 3 seconds of the fight. That's kind of the peak fight for them. It is hard though because there's Galio. Wukong, I think, is always going to do well in situations where he just gets to spin a bunch of people up. And then Carrier did also go for McHale's very early on.
Cease and desist has been used. Speaking of Carrier, who is taking a little bit of damage here in the river. Delight going to be rotating in as Owner does find him. Heroic charge comes down as well as Owner has been exhausted. There's the Cyclone. Heroic entrance comes down as well, and there's the instant McHale's. That will kill Viper, and Owner is able to pick up the kill. 4-1 now in advantage for T1. And they are not stopping. It feels like that one kill on the top side of the map, tempo vibes, straight over to T1. They have not let go.
That is a very rough death, because that is both Sums gone, Viper not in the fight, Herald going over, and Hanwha Live, you gotta know T1 is gonna be itching to fight, right? That's what they do, as they are trying to still contest here.
Yeah, speaking of itching to fight, Peanut also wanted to get on in there.
The rumble!
Going aggressive. Doran getting into that backline. Cease and desist will connect. And there's the ulti out of Zeus as well. We said Gumayushi was going to struggle to play the game, but can they still win the team fight? Faker just able to ult his way out of there. Oh, actually, never mind. Didn't even do that. He just drove Shelly, and that is going to allow the double kill to come in for Doran. Faker also looking for Peanut, as not even going to die because Shelly gets rid of the turret. My God, T1. That was beautiful.
And we have seen a development in the Shelly teamfight driving meta. Last week, I think it was Lucid that did something similar.
And Doran did it immediately, like the same thing last week at the same time.
Yeah, we've been seeing a good amount of this as right here. Got to be ready for this to come through, right? The fact that Viper is not able to get away because of the great cleanse there coming through from Carrier on his Wukong. This is actually ends up being a really good engage here from Hanwha Live. They very early on get out Guma's spell shield. Then Zeus gets in the back line, and Guma's flash just a second too late, which means that Peanut and Co get on top of him. But the real issue, as we can see here, is that Faker gets out. I actually thought he had like an arm guard or something.
Yeah, no, it kind of blew my mind as well.
And then watch what happens to Peanut here, by the way. Gets knocked up, tries to kill Faker, just doesn't quite have the damage, and Shelly kills the turret. So he doesn't even get the counter kill. That is a very, very frustrating turn of events, but it all starts with that great pick from T1, and then a great performance in teamfight. Even though Guma goes down, by that point, I think Hanwha are already in a rough position. If Viper was in that fight from the beginning, would have looked completely different. But they were, remember, down for most of that.
Exactly. And now 3,000 gold lead. That is not small here at 18 minutes into the game. And so now these Mountain Drakes likely to start stacking up. Owner already in position for that one. Wave shoved in here in mid. And so HLE, I think they might still want to go for something here.
You have to try and fight for the Drake, right? Because Soul Point is still a big deal.
Yeah.
If you can get it, but you can't lose it in a manner that's too convincing, because then the gold lead becomes basically impossible to hold on to. So it's a very fine balance you have to walk. They might also just decide to give it up. Wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case. I don't know if you can hold on to this bot side turret here, Hanwha, and you cannot.
No, it's a bit of a bridge too far. They will be able to take that one down. And then the teleport in from Carrier should mean that this Dragon is going comfortably over to T1. Peanut is still rotating down, though. As T1 are looking to start this one up. Okay. HLE not going to give this one up without a fight. I don't know whether it's necessarily the right call, but it's an aggressive one. And maybe we'll just have to respect it as Control Ward's going down into this Banana Brush over and over again. Equalizer right on top of them as Chains of Corruption will connect, but down goes Delight because the rest of the team just couldn't get there. And then they're like, well, that's my cue to exit. They will give up a Nautilus and a Dragon, and T1 just hold on to this game so firmly. And now Keeper's Verdict comes down. Goodbye, Zeka. And now Viper is once again alone. Taunt comes in, Cease and Desist comes down, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to cease, and they are definitely not going to desist, although Owner is still going to die.
Yeah, I think he's happy with that, Atlas. I don't think he's too bothered. Little overzealous there, as they could have just gotten the turret. Would have been nice, but mid turret is still looking to go down very quickly. As here, the ultimate from Doran does a great job. Then I'm pretty sure Keria also interrupts the attempted hook onto Doran. Not that it would have mattered, because I don't think the rest of the team can really follow there. And then here, they go for the play on Viper. Hanwha Life is able to help out a little bit because Peanut's ready, so is Zeus, but ready is, you know, a valuable term because Viper does still end up going down. Currently 0-2, and really kind of reminding us why we don't see a lot of
unhit Varus is just a little difficult to make work in a lot of these team fights, especially when there's Gallios and Wukongs and Rumbles.
Yeah, I think there are setups where you can get away with it. You also don't really have a front line, you know?
Yeah.
So it is. It's been rough. I also want to give credit to T1, who I think had a pretty lackluster last week. Part of it was also, again, I think KT had been on the upswing for a while. We're clearly getting better by the week. But then the series against Nongshim, and also just how T1 looks, particularly in the second game against KT, where they were very clearly making a lot of mistakes. I feel like they've really pulled it back in this one. We're not seeing any of the, I want to say, trademark circus moves, you know, where we're like, oh, let's just re-engage because we can. And we feel like it's actually been a very measured game here. And from this position, denying Soul Point with a really strong 5v5 composition. I think T1 in full control of this one, unless Hanwha Life can find a miracle pick.
Yeah, they're going to need to do something incredibly heroic this time around.
Yeah.
It's about a 4,000 gold lead. Infinity Edge is now done for Gumayusi as well, as big item spikes are coming in. Sundered Sky done for Owner as well, that 2-item spike that we talk about all the time. And so this Wukong is also very frightening. Probably not going to be as worried about being caught underneath turrets anymore, as the Otacon might be one of the final nails for the coffin here.
Or it's the one that...
The avenue back in.
That deconstructs it. They're like, nope, never mind, we don't need that. If we have a classic Otacon, I just think the problem is that if T1 does get set up, it's already hard for you to find a good team fight, to get past Galio and Poppy. But if they are pre-set up, like... you just dive onto Poppy or Galio?
Oh, we're teleporting in, looking for a turn angle here. As Piercing Arrow going to be charged up here by Viper. He needs to try and keep himself safe in this fight, but right now they have no information about the Otacon's health bar. Keeper's Verdict just gets rid of the Ambessa as Peanut able to flash out, but unable to steal away the Otacon. He'll just burn to a crisp, as this time Viper might be able to keep himself safe. Never mind. There's just no way out for this AD carry, and Zeus trying to be a hero, but unfortunately he's on the wrong team this year, and T1 looking to push even further, but that, I think, was the backbreaker.
Yeah, the back wasn't looking good, Atlas.
It was not.
It'd been kind of creaky for a while, but it wasn't well and truly broken. It is now. With that, a clean ace. Otacon going over. More turrets falling. And Hanwha Life are most certainly going to be looking at a 1-0 deficit here in this series, as the Wallets are doing a lot of lifting, but I want to again highlight the fact that T1's able to have Keria in the tri-brush, Faker in the lane, and you can't engage on either of them because Poppy and Galio. But if you don't engage on them, what do? Nothing, as it turns out. You don't get Otacon, you don't win the fight. And it's now 9K. It's
yeah, it's kind of absurd. There's a 7-0-5 Rumble in this game.
Done, Atlas. That's what it is.
It is feeling a little done. You might be correct. 14-3 at the top of your screen as well, guys.
To get back to the stake conversation. If you'd ordered something medium and it would come in like this game, you'd send it back. Yeah. It's not okay.
No. This is way too well done. And in fact, just don't do that. You know, medium rare is probably about as far as you should ever go if it's a good stake. Okay.
I'm not gonna. You eat your steak however you like. You know, I'm not. That's okay with
just
me.
Don't get an expensive one if you plan on burning it to a crisp. You know.
Okay, but then you're still doing the Oh, okay.
Well, we're going to
Hail Mary.
something to a crisp as in goes Peanut and immediately just gets interrupted. Cease and desist does get him into the back line, but I don't know whether he necessarily wants to be there. Gumayusi flashes away. Equalizer on his teammates mainly, but it doesn't actually matter here because T1 are so far ahead that it is just kind of doomed here for HLE. I do respect them trying to answer with more aggression.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, again, the game was already basically done. I don't think you really get any normal avenue back in, so might as well try to look for something. They got Guma Sums.
Yep. Carrier also got underneath an inhibitor turret and is likely to die. So he's obviously having a very good time. That's his first death of the game, actually. He was 0-0-14. But, you know, sometimes he's got to have a good time. Zeus is now looking for his other ex-teammate here from the bottom lane. And there's a public execution that will close the gap, and no way out here for Gumayusi. So Zeus is still gaming. He's still trying to make something happen.
They're going to look for Baron, by the way.
Wait, can they? Hang on.
No, they can.
Wait.
There's no bot lane.
Well, Faker is just going to let this dragon reset.
Doran doesn't have TP.
Hang on. Wait a sec. No, Schultz. The nail was it. We were talking about the nail.
Possible. No, I mean, even if they get it, I don't think it's enough is the problem. But if they get a good fight here, you know, dreams don't have to be memes, Atlas. They need to get Baron, though, and win the fight.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Well, Zeker is also going to find Doran on this flank angle here as the Baron going down very low. The equalizer comes in. Heroic entrance from Faker out of the brush there as Zeus is going to be the first to die. And now the walking barbecue comes in to put them down. It was optimistic, it was cute, but it was not enough. Here for HLE, Zeka is, it's like Little Red Riding Hood walking through the forest, and there are wolves and all of those dangerous things.
That's been said about me. Optimistic, cute, but not quite enough. When I applied,
you got married, dude. It's fine.
No, I applied to the school musical. I can't say else. It was a bit of a disaster.
Oh dear.
It was great though. I had one line. They were like, "Okay, we love this guy. We can't really give him anything." Yeah, I lived through High School Musical, but I was one of the, the background people.
Yeah, right. More in the chorus.
Yeah. Oh no, not even that.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Oh, okay.
But for Hanwha Life, you got to try something. I think plays like this. Oh, might as well give it a go. I don't even know, guys. It's okay.
Delight's giving it a go in the mid lane.
Yeah, we know the game is over. It's okay.
It's 14,000 gold. That's a big lead. Peanut is going to face check.
Not the jungle.
And yeah, the Faker jump scare does come in as he presses R because it was up and available. And that's 0-6 now. Not exactly the greatest of times, but I'm looking at the 0-5-0 Viper who needs 18 kills to crack 3K, and I don't think it's happening in this game. Still hope for the series, obviously.
Is this where we are starting the cope? So, expensive draft for T1 in terms of Fearless.
Oh, we already went over that.
Hanwha, yeah, but we gotta give him something, right?
Yeah.
Are we going back to? You want to tell about one of your?
You don't need to give them something. I don't think.
You want to tell about one of your high school experiences? Like, I don't know, man.
I was just rollerblading, man. As Zeka flashes in, looking for a bit of an angle, but he is just going to get melted. And it's another team fight that is going very handily over to T1 as the world's smallest keeper's verdict does send Peanut back to the fountain as Zeus will fall down. And there it is. Turret's going to go down, and T1, yeah, I reckon they're feeling better after their disappointing loss to KT. Feels like a bit of that revenge has come out here in today's first game.
And it was, I think, a very solid performance of everyone on the team as well.